Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Nonprofit Show. You've joined us on a Wednesday, but we're going to be talking about Giving Tuesday with our new best friend, Brian Kochheiser. Brian from Bloomerang, welcome.
Thanks, Julia. I'm very excited to chat with you about Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday, what an amazing idea. Picked up so much steam.
Yes.
But I feel like, Brian, there are folks that are left behind. You hear from folks in the sector, oh my God, it's huge. We love this. And then we hear just the opposite, like, didn't do anything. I think you're going to help us figure out maybe why it's working for some and not others. So this will be really fun to learn with you and kind of get that insider track before this all happens. You know, another insider track that we have here on the Nonprofit Show are our amazing partners. And they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Nonprofit Thought Leader, Fundraiser Friday, Your Part-Time Controller, Third Sector Company, and Clear Impact. These are the folks that join us day in and day out as we march towards 1,200 episodes and now in our 5th year. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. I have an amazing cohort of co-hosts. They come from around the country. They do amazing things, incredibly diverse within their service to the nonprofit sector. And I hope you've been able to get to know them and learn from them as I have. Today, I'm learning from Brian Kochheiser, Senior Account Executive with Bloomerang. Okay, what does a Senior Account Executive do? Because that sounds pretty lofty.
It's not as exciting or lofty as it sounds, Julia. I appreciate it, though. Really, my role is to work with nonprofit organizations who are evaluating their tech stack to see if Bloomerang is going to be a fit for their organization. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but really have enjoyed the opportunity to meet with so many wonderful organizations and development professionals. And as they kind of go on that journey to figure out, hey, what is going to help us increase our fundraising revenue and have a greater impact on our mission?
Yeah, you know, in the green room, Brian and I had a fascinating conversation. And I don't know if as many people are aware of, you come to us from Indianapolis, how Indiana and particularly Indianapolis has really become, dare I say, the leading tech center for the nonprofit sector. And I think that's absolutely fascinating.
Yes, there's a ton of wonderful tech companies in the greater Indy area that are supporting the nonprofit space. And, you know, I was just talking to somebody last week that said Indianapolis has the largest concentration of nonprofits. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but it's definitely a community that loves to serve and support the nonprofit industry.
Well, and Bloomerang is born and raised in Indianapolis, correct?
That's correct. Yep, born and raised there back in 2012, I believe it was. So it's been well over a decade now of having indie roots. So so we love serving the industry.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, I think the things that I love coming out of Indianapolis is that they're very holistic. You have companies that understand board management. You know, the tech stack is not just one aspect. It's donor relations, it's marketing, it's data management. It's all the things that Bloomerang is investing in and growing their company with, but just a fascinating look into the future of what is out there. And so we're thrilled that you're with us. And I think another thing that we love about what's going on is this thing called Giving Tuesday.
Yes.
Talk to us about that and give us the background inside story. What is it and how should we be thinking about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Somehow we're 3 weeks away from Giving Tuesday, which is wild. This year has just been flying by. I'm sure everybody feels the same way. I was looking at the calendar and was like, oh my goodness, that's already right around the corner here. But, you know, there was over $3 billion given on Giving Tuesday last year, and it's continued to grow over time. It's really an opportunity for donors and people to be generous after, you know, it's kind of built out of that, hey, we're consuming a lot of product on Black Friday and buying a lot of Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, all those things. And the Tuesday following that is a way for people to give back and to support one another in their local community. So I always view Giving Tuesday as a wonderful way to kick off your year-end giving. So it's, you know, it's not your one all be all strategy, but it's a really
Right.
way to kind of kick off that year end giving as you kind of finish out the year strong.
Mhm. Wow, I love that attitude because otherwise, I think Giving Tuesday can take a hit. You know,
Yeah.
people think like it's going to solve all my problems and it's going to help me reach my goal, and then they get frustrated because they didn't really do anything. Let's admit it.
Yep.
And then it kind of falls flat. So I love that you backed up the bus so that we could understand, the impetus behind it and how it really is that follow up to Cyber Monday where everybody gets whacked out on
Yeah.
how much money they can spend and save.
How much money you can save, right?
Yeah. So really, really interesting. Well, let's dig into some of your strategies of how you think we should be navigating this amazingly powerful fundraising opportunity, which let's face it, Brian, a lot of this marketing has been done for us on a national level. We
Yes.
just need to step up and yet be smart about how we look at it. One of the first things you advise us is to harness the power of personalization.
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yeah. No, great question. And we were talking about Stephen Shattuck earlier, and I remember when I first started at Bloomerang, he goes, "Hey, I got 40, Giving Tuesday emails last year. 27 of them contain the subject line of Giving Tuesday." He's like, "Make it about your donor. Make it about the person that you're talking to and interacting with who wants to support your mission." So you have to stand out on Giving Tuesday. If you just send a one Giving Tuesday email and it says Giving Tuesday in the subject line, you're probably going to fall into the void there. So really looking at who you are communicating to, right? Is it a volunteer? Is it a lapsed donor? Is it a first-time donor that gave to you 6 months ago and do you want to share that impact with them? So I think making sure you personalize that experience while also sharing that impact that they have had, if they are already a donor or somebody who maybe you're trying to get to give for the first time, sharing what that impact is going to be will help you be more successful. So it's really creating that concrete and consistent story, and really making it about impact and not just, hey, it's Giving Tuesday, make a donation to us.
Right, right. Well, I think too, this is a good strategy no matter the time of the year,
It
right?
is.
And yet we somehow lapse our judgment when it comes to this this national effort.
Mhm.
And I find it just fascinating because I don't know about you, but I think last year we counted up just in my office alone, we had 45, 46 direct solicitations. So that's a lot to go through, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. If
You have to
your
stand out.
inbox, if your solicitations anything like your average donor, it's going to be you're going to want to stand out in a way. One thing I like to do to try to do that is really do kind of a thank you sandwich, if you will. So thanking your donors actually beforehand, especially those that have already given. It's perfect time of year. It's Thanksgiving, right? Like tie something in to thank them for their impact before you make an ask. And then obviously after they make a gift, make sure that that's a quick personal thank you once again. But I think that's a way that you can start to kind of ease into that ask and get people excited about it. The communication for Giving Tuesday really needs to start kind of laying groundwork in the 2 or 3 weeks prior to that day, so that your donors know what's coming up, but they also know the impact that their giving has had on your organization before you make another ask to them directly.
So interesting. I didn't think that was where you were going to go with this. You're saying like let's not just wait until Giving Tuesday. Let's move through that we're participating and what some of the options are.
I think sharing what some of the options are is
Okay.
great, especially if you have a matching gift. You can kind of start to tee some of that stuff up. I think that's a good way to leverage some of that, because you don't want to surprise somebody on Giving Tuesday, especially if again they're getting 40 emails in their inbox asking for a gift. You want them kind of already thinking about, hey, I want to support this organization again because look at all the great work I've done with my gift or that they've done with my gift. So I think starting to tee that up in advance will really help on the day of Giving Tuesday and really kickstart your entire year-end giving.
I love that, Brian. I think that's really smart. Well, so far, I'm super impressed with your strategies here. So let's move on to leveraging peer-to-peer fundraising. What
Yeah.
does that look like to you?
To me, I think this cannot be your only strategy. You can't say,
Okay.
hey, we're just doing peer-to-peer. I hope people will donate, through this strategy. But I think it's really important that you have this peer-to-peer, this crowdfunding as a component in your Giving Tuesday strategy. If you have never done it before, like I think it's smart to determine a goal and really figure out and ask who you want to be involved in this. So some really easy low-hanging fruit here is this is a great way to get your board members involved. This is a great way to ask some of your loyal donors, your volunteers, hey, will you go out and help us raise some funds for Giving Tuesday? So, I think I saw a stat about 40% of Americans will give to a nonprofit because a family member or a friend asks them to. So
Right.
sharing that, hey, you can have an impact just by asking your network for a gift on Giving Tuesday is a really strong strategy, especially as you're looking to potentially acquire new donors.
Mm-hmm. I love this, and I think it's a natural way. I love the concept that you brought to us about kicking off your year-end, gratitude piece and the success of a close, because so many people in our nonprofit fundraising, fund development, they're exhausted by this time of year. I mean, they're just
Yes.
trashed. And I think this is really smart. I really think it's a great, joyful way to kind of wrap things up in a bow and keep the momentum flowing. But I like involving our leaders and our leadership and our supporters with this. I think that, Giving Tuesday generally is not just one gift.
Correct.
Individuals make a lot of smaller gifts. It might be $10.
Yeah.
But they're making, they're generally making several.
They're making several gifts, and if it's a new donor, right, it's how are we going to communicate the impact they've had and keep them involved, right? Like, are we picking up the phone the next day to thank them? Are we doing things in a personal way as you bring in new donors? Because I think the average peer-to-peer campaign brings in typically around 300 new donors if you can do it right. So it's an opportunity to get people and introduce them to your mission. But you need to have a strategy also to keep them engaged, involved, and retain them after the fact as well. Otherwise, it's going to be a cycle every year. But so it's a really good way to really introduce people to your mission and the impact they can have.
Imagine if you're just a normal nonprofit and you have access to 300 new donors that have been introduced to you and who have already made a commitment, no matter the size,
Yeah.
to go on this journey with you. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so easy, and yet I think it's something that's often like I think it stresses people out if it's new, right? It's like, gosh, we've never done this before, but I don't think you need to overcomplicate it, right? Like you've got to start somewhere, especially if peer-to-peer is the first time you're doing it. And there's plenty of tools out there. There's free, there's paid, there's different things to look at to try to get those folks engaged and involved. And you want to make that an easy experience, right? So if you're looking at your technology, right, is it an easy giving experience for them? Then that will really help with some of your conversion rates.
Yeah, I love this, and I think that it's what a valiant thing to throw into your mix, to set some goals and to really navigate towards cultivating new folks, because generally they're going to also be younger.
They are. And it's a great way to get a younger generation involved. That's a great segment to target. If you have people that are passionate about your organization, like that's another good group of people, young donors to ask so they can share it on social media and with their friends. And, you can't look at this as saying like, hey, I'm going to get a $500 gift. You might out of it, but you want to bring these people in and retain them. That's where your value comes in and sharing that impact that those individuals can have by supporting your organization.
Right. I love that, Brian. I really do. Brian, another thing that you advise us is to utilize that data-driven insight. And what would those insights be? What is it that we should be looking at so that we can be more successful on Giving Tuesday?
I think you need to start to look at, and some of it goes back a little bit to that personalization, but like, how
Mhm.
are we segmenting out and who we are talking to? For Giving Tuesday, right? You probably want to really focus on that donor who's given digitally to you, because that's where a lot of those gifts are coming in.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're segmenting that out, identifying, hey, who is most engaged with our organization, whether they're volunteering, whether they're consistently clicking through emails, like finding different ways that people are engaging with you and using that medium to communicate Giving Tuesday is going to be really important in helping you kind of drive success there,
Mhm.
um, for that. So I would make sure, I'm not a fan of like the blast out the email, the exact same message to everybody, right? So like,
Right.
you probably don't want some of your like major donors getting that generic $10, $20 ask. So
Mhm.
making sure that you're being very thoughtful about who's receiving this and engaging them in unique ways,
Mhm.
will help you with that. So you need to have that data to look at it. So who's clicking through emails, who's engaging,
Mhm.
with you on different aspects of your organization.
Mhm. I think that's just such a generally uh, advisable best practice. This is not
Yeah.
just a Giving Tuesday strategy. And if it's something that you are not doing, but you want to start doing,
Yes.
for Giving Tuesday, but it needs to become a habit, don't you think, of just your overall approach?
I think it should be, these are all practices, right, that you can use
Yeah.
year round. So I think sometimes we look at Giving Tuesday and maybe we overcomplicate it in terms of how we want to
Mhm.
do stuff. So go
Yeah.
back to the basics, keep it simple, and you'll start to see success if you haven't. Like, Jill, I think you mentioned earlier on the show, it's like, hey, some people feel like they're left behind organization wise, and some are
Yeah.
really crushing it. And I hear that almost every day on different ends of the spectrum there.
Mhm.
So I think if you go back to some basics, you will see results on Giving Tuesday.
Yeah.
But it can't just be right one email that goes out and hoping that
Mhm.
you're going to get $25,000 on that day.
No. Well, don't you think that it's like extreme? It's
Mhm.
like people love it or they hate it. It doesn't seem like there's a middle point, and which I find fascinating because
It,
the amount of money and engagement is huge.
Yeah, it's out there, and it's a national brand really at this point, Giving
Yeah,
Tuesday. So it's, a
yeah.
lot of that legwork is already done, but you do have to
Mhm,
tie it back to the impact of your mission if you want to be
mhm,
successful. So
mhm.
it is a very unique kind of dynamic of, oh no, we never do this, or yes, this is a huge part of our strategy,
Right.
um, for it. So it is definitely two ends of the spectrum, I feel.
I do too. I'm glad to hear you say that because I sometimes I think it's just me, and I'm always like, wow, when you just talk about the overall numbers, and then my witness to this is just looking at the national media who will
Yeah,
talk about it, who will weave it into their stories. Um, it's a heck of a lot of free press.
it's a
A
lot of
heck
free
of a lot.
A lot of free press. So I think it's something that you should take, that every organization should find a way to take advantage of that free press.
Mm,
Because especially if you're a small nonprofit, like maybe you're still trying to get your name out there and do some things. So like you should be leveraging and riding some of those Giving Tuesday coattails,
mhm,
to the best of your ability, and recognize
mhm,
there's got to be a starting point, right? This is probably not the first year is probably not going to be your most successful year. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's growing every single year. So
yes.
just going in with, hey, we're going to work and try this strategy, and
Mhm.
you're going to retool things for next year. But you need that data year over year to make better decisions each and every year.
Right. Well, and I love that you said that because you need to start that base, but then you need to be tracking it and really understanding what's going on there. We've been chatting with Brian Kochheiser, excuse me, I added
That's all
that.
right.
Whoops. Senior account executive with Bloomerang. Bloomerang's been with us from the get-go, and it's really been amazing. We have so many amazing leaders that come to us from Bloomerang and talk about different aspects of what's going on. And I love that about your organization because it really helps, I think, paint a bigger picture of all the things that we can do. It's like you said, Brian. It's never just one thing. It has to come at a lot of different levels. One of the things that I was so interested in talking to you about, and we don't have much time, but as we navigate towards the end of our conversation,
Mhm.
I'm really fascinated by your advice to lean into this in advance and to start to, if you will, pre-market.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit more about that when we can be thinking about this, because one of my immediate thoughts was, how do we do this without cannibalizing year-end gifts?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? You don't want to be under asking for some gifts that
Okay.
you know are coming in near the end of the year, that are traditionally larger at your average gift
Mhm.
size, above your average gift size.
Mhm.
So I think this actually comes back in a lot of ways to looking at your data, understanding your donor base, and making decisions on who you're segmenting out that communication to. So, an easy one, if you've done Giving Tuesday before and hey, this is a donor that gives to me on Giving Tuesday, like
Mhm.
that's somebody that we definitely want to communicate and target. So I think, identifying like what is our Giving Tuesday average gift size versus our year end, and trying to
Mhm.
understand which donors we want to communicate with, will help you be a little bit more strategic in that approach.
Mhm.
Because I do think Giving Tuesday is really your kickoff into year end giving.
Yes.
If you can tie it together and do it properly, it's
Yeah.
it's really a great way to kickstart that and share, hey, we've
Mhm.
already raised X number of dollars, like we want you to join this cause too.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you find that folks um, can separate this, can say, this is just one thing that I do on this day, and it's they somehow mentally and financially separate it off, or do they try and use it as a, oh yeah, this is the day that I finish everything up?
I think it depends. I think some people do a good job of separating it, and I think other people are on the other side where it's like, okay, Giving Tuesday is a day, I have to hit this number, this goal.
Mhm.
Um, I think if you look
Mhm.
at it in a broader picture, it makes it a little bit less stressful,
Mhm.
for that day of, and if you can kind of compartmentalize that a little bit more,
Mhm.
as hey, this is one day of strategy for our December giving.
Mhm.
Then I think you'll find success in kind of being able to tie that complete story and picture together. But you
Mhm.
do want to be consistent in your storytelling and sharing your impact that you have with your donors.
Mhm.
That consistent story will help tie everything together for you through the end
Mhm.
of the year.
So, talking about that arc of a story, what do you advise us on reporting out? So,
Mm,
for example, we will get numbers pretty quickly about what the national, number has been. You said 3 billion last year. We'll know pretty quickly what that aggregate number is. How do you feel about reporting out as to what our organizations did?
I think it's totally a great idea to communicate out how your
Mhm.
organization did on the day of, especially if you have a goal, if you have like a matching gift, like you want to
Gotcha.
communicate that out. Um,
Okay.
I think it's a good way. Like it almost gets people who maybe missed giving on Giving Tuesday. It's like, oh my goodness, there was all these donors that supported an organization I love. Look at all of the money that was raised. Like I completely
Mhm.
forgot I need to go and make my year-end gift now. So I think you can leverage that in a way to, kind of create some FOMO of, oh gosh, I meant
Mhm.
to give to this organization
Right.
today, but completely forgot.
Right. I love this. I only see a couple organizations. Now, this is just on my feed, people that connect
Sure.
with me, probably less than three that do like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And they will talk about that goal that they have from the get-go, about the matching gift, and then where they are, almost like in the old style thermometer,
Yes.
here's here we are marching up on the thermometer, and then
Yes.
closing the day. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people love visuals, right? I think people love visuals. They love to feel a part of something. So if
Mhm,
you can tie that messaging to sharing, hey, this is what you've been a part of,
mhm,
or we'd love for you to hop on the boat and join this journey as we're looking to raise X number of dollars. We're very
mhm,
close. I think that's a great way to visualize and show like where we are and where we're going, and how either you've helped or how you can help get us to our
mhm,
ultimate end goal.
mhm. When you think about a nonprofit and their website and
Mhm.
having that button, I always like to say above the fold, which is
Yes.
an old newspaper term, but up high and prominent.
Yeah.
What do you think about keeping that up for a while? Like you talked about advancing the conversation.
Mhm.
Do you employ that prior or just on Giving Tuesday? You turn it off? Like, what is your strategy for that?
I personally would put it up a little bit before and leave it a little bit after, because I think you want to give, I think the more you kind of direct towards that, you want to make it easy for people to find a way to give to you. So you want to make it obvious on your website. I mean, there's so many organizations. I go to their website and I am looking in multiple spots to find it. And I'm looking at nonprofit websites every single day. So imagine the donor that's like, okay, how do I make a gift? So keep it really simple. Keep it above the fold for them to make a gift. Make sure it's a mobile friendly giving advice that they can do it on their phone. So if they, if it's Tuesday night and they get another email from you, it's okay, good. I have to go get my purse or wallet. I can make a gift from my mobile device and from my phone through, Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, Venmo, something simple, right? So make it easy for them to make a gift to you.
Yeah, that is great advice. And I've got to believe that those organizations that feel like they falter or they are disenchanted with what revenue they see, it's got to be, for my mind, it's got to be connected to this piece.
Yes.
That we have not made it easy enough or frictionless for the donor.
Yeah, you got to make it easy for the donor, especially if you have a year-end campaign, especially if you're running a Giving Tuesday campaign, right? Like, make this experience very easy for them, because you and I both know there's a million different competing priorities, things going on, especially at the end of the year. So one less click, one less thing to think about will help you convert that many more donors as you're looking at Giving Tuesday and just your end of year strategy going forward. So I think making that a prominent display on your website honestly should be really a year-round thing, but definitely highlighting it around Giving Tuesday and any campaign that you're running will lead to more success.
I agree. Well, as we get ready to leave you today, I want to recount one of my favorite things that that Bloomerang did from the get-go with the great and the legendary Stephen Shattuck, making $10 donations to, I think he started with his own money, like 10 organizations, and then every year he grew it. And then he created a spreadsheet and he tracked, and these were organizations he didn't know.
Yes.
Like I should say they didn't know him. He wasn't already a donor. And they were all over the country. And he tracked, how they responded to him, how they communicated moving forward, just the overall experience. I would have him come on each year and talk about this. And Brian, it was heartbreaking, the number of organizations that never even thanked him.
It's unbelievable how common that is. And I remember him sharing that story to us on, staff, and we were all blown away. It's like, we got to make this easy for people to, for organizations to thank their donors. That should really be, the first thing you're doing. So on that Wednesday, so 3 weeks from today, block some time out in the morning there to pick up the phone and thank those that supported you. That's going to go a long way into retaining, especially your new donors, but, seeing gift increases and upgrades from your existing donors that have supported you.
Right. Yeah. So important. And I'm going to hold into my heart that number of 300, thinking that we could get 300 new connections, people that are going to march alongside us. Holy moly. That's an incredible, incredible thought.
Yeah. And think about how far along that can go, especially if you do thank them and retain them. That impact just continues to exponentially grow.
Exactly. I mean, it's just really an amazing, amazing thing to be thinking about. Well, you, my friend, my new best friend, Brian Kochheiser, Senior Account Executive with the amazing Bloomerang. You can learn more about Brian and his team, all the different products and services that Bloomerang has at Bloomerang, BLOOMERANG.com. Bloomerang is one of those amazing thought leaders that they don't have a paywall. So the information that they provide our sector, the research, the studies, the education is amazing. And so definitely check them out, whether you're one of their clients or not. Undoubtedly, they want you to be a client, but I'm just saying you can get everybody. Support everybody.
Yes.
They just have these like really truly thought-provoking strategies and data that will help you to understand where our sector is going, how our sector is going. And it might not be something that you can navigate yourself with your organization, depending on the size, but it certainly can give you some goalposts to run towards. And so definitely, I want to champion that. Brian, this has been a lot of fun. I want to check back with you after Giving Tuesday to kind
Absolutely.
of see what happened, because I love the ground rules that you laid for us. And I think some of these strategies are very, very wise.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and share some strategies with so many great organizations, and look forward to hearing how it was successful for everybody.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Well, don't miss out. If you're a nonprofit, you need to jump on this. Hey, another thing that we want to make sure that we call out and we jump on our presenting sponsors, and they include Bloomerang, where Brian has joined us from today, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Nonprofit Thought Leader, Fundraisers Friday. Our new Friday episodes just dedicated to fundraisers. Bless their hearts. These are the folks on the front lines. Really an amazing episode each and every Friday. Your Part-Time Controller, Third Sector Company, and Clear Impact. These are the folks that join us day in and day out as we help our nonprofits get smarter and stronger and have greater impact. As we end each and every episode of the Nonprofit Show, we leave with this message. And sometimes it's really hard and sometimes it's really easy, but it always calls to us to stay well so you can do well.